Norm Miller and Nolan Borders and trapping Gainer on being an incel. Why is this so important? Because Ricky and Keith and Addie, when I was a kid, knew about involuntary celibates. Everybody knew about that before actually a term. It was something that was talked about a long time ago, especially in my family around my town because I was growing up being contracted. Now you would find Ricky Gray is an actual incel. He is a freak of nature with his father and his mother. That is what that guy is. But you would find that Nolan Borders getting accused of jacking off to little kids during investigations and me having to report that to Ted Grove and John Berg would actually be the start to Norm Miller prior trying to cover up the arguments with me at 10 years old that he was going to be the police chief. And even if I grew up to be a badge cop, I would work under him. And then when he left as police chief, I would fill in as the police chief. Who would argue with a 10-year-old like that who has no girlfriend, no wife, is into monster trucks, scared to protect somebody who got caught jacking off to kids in an investigation, wants to use Doug Carpenter and his wife's hookups with the court so they could be friends with John Berg and Ted Grove and then create a rookie cop to be an incel, Officer Gainer, when both Nolan Borders and Norm Miller have more incel tendencies than Gainer. Actually, you come to find out that Nolan Border has the most involuntary celibate tendencies, followed by Norm Miller, who has the second most involuntary celibate tendencies. And then you would find that they use Doug Carpenter, convince Hublinski, convince Cody Simmons, and a bunch of other cops to fraud that Gainer had involuntary celibate tendencies and that they could put him in the roles of their crimes for pimping and raping little children that were contracted with John Berg, put in CCMH for an involuntary celibate study of a high school when Judge Taylor came into play after I got my VIN number at 15, and then find Judge Taylor working with Carla Herb to hunt down with Mark at CCMH involuntary celibates that are contracted with John Berg and the prosecution office for a study quite like Michael O'Shea and his OKC bombing book investigation of Timothy McVeigh being involuntary celibate, and playing that their testimony will be used to not only get them paid out in Bureau of Labor investigation, lawsuits, and complaints, but also get out the main involuntary celibates inside of Columbia County government.